Hi, my name is Lila and I'm the Mini Witch. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In the spirit of Halloween, this week's video is how to paint zombies, vampires, and other undead creatures. For this week's video, I did all of the gruesome research and will explain exactly how to paint your next undead or corpse. First, we'll review the stages of decomposition, then talk about what one could expect to see in undead. Finally, we'll go over how to paint it. Please be aware that there are some graphic descriptions coming up in this video, as well as photographs that I took in my photography days. None of these images are real, and I can guarantee that all of my models are doing just fine. Cardamom! Though that's not a good choice. Zombies and corpses, knowledge. So let's start with the stages of decomposition. Since this is about painting, I'm only going to go into things that would be easy for you as a crafter. 30 minutes after death, the skin turns purple and waxy. The eyes begin to sink into the head and the pupils dilate to their full size. 4 hours. Blood begins to pool at the lowest points of the body, typically the hands, feet, and legs, but this will depend greatly on the position your body is in at the time of rest. These areas will begin to turn purple or black. The lips will turn white as the blood begins to leave the face. 24 hours. The face and neck will begin to turn a bluish green, and this color will continue down the rest of the body throughout the rest of the decompositional process. This is where things diverge from what is realistic. So instead of continuing on the track of decomposition, we're going to veer off and look at how zombies and other undead are portrayed in the entertainment industry. Feel free to pick and choose whatever is going to work best for your undead. You wouldn't paint a zombie and a vampire the same way. The veins could become more prominent as stagnant blood begins to pool and congeal in the veins. This is going to be particularly noticeable at areas where the veins are very thick or clumped together, or at areas where the skin is relatively translucent. These areas would include the hands, wrists, feet, forearms, chest, neck, and around the eyes. The eyes may become bloodshot, the scleras could yellow, or the irises may become vibrant. Eyes will begin to glaze over from the millions of tiny scratches normally avoided by the body's ability to blink. As the blood is congealed, it will become thick and black. Moss and mushrooms may begin to grow in or on your corpse. Even with these in mind, as always, I recommend finding a reference photo. The Walking Dead has hundreds of zombies that you could reference, and what I really like about using them as a reference is the fact that since the show has gone on for such a long period of time, there is a wide range of decompositional stages for you to reference. Painting the base. For the zombie, I wanted the color scheme overall to be a cool grayish green color. This is both to keep the flesh looking more dead, as well as for it to contrast very nicely against the more living flesh mask that I'll be painting later. And since I have the opportunity, I want to lie very heavily on the color zones of the face. There are 3 color zones to the face. The upper region, which is yellow, the middle region, which is a rosier hue, and the lower region, which is generally blue. Since the zombie isn't going to look realistic anyway, why not take the opportunity to play with these interesting color variations that we find in the face? I started by mixing my base paint and applying it to the face. Ardennis Green from Scale Color, Lilith Yellow from Fantasy and Game, and Skeleton Bone from Reaper. A purplish mix of Eldandi Violet and Ardennis Green for the shadow under the cheekbones. Ardennis Green mixed with Ishtar Pink from Fantasy and Game and Skeleton Bone for the cheeks. And Ardennis Green, Eldandi Violet, Gray, and Skeleton Bone for the jaw and chin area. I wanted the contrast of the zombie to be really intense. The sculpt is really grotesque, and I wanted to make sure that my paint was playing into this beautiful sculpt. Colors opposite of each other on the color wheel are complementary colors, and they have the most contrast that you can find in hue. To make a scientific theory easier to understand, basically, different parts of our brains light up when we're looking at different color combinations. Complementary colors cause our brain to light up the most, which is why we are attracted and drawn to those color combinations. So by making the shadows purple and the rest of the face a more greenish color, I am literally making it more jarring to our brain, as well as playing into the greenish purple being a classical color scheme for the undead. You can learn more about contrast by visiting this video here. Glazing. Glazing is the act of using a diluted paint to apply translucent layers over and over to build up colors. Glazing is beneficial because it allows me to work a lot more subtly than layering would be able to. However, glazing can be more difficult because one has a tendency to work a lot faster since you want to build up that intensity. However, you need to let the layers dry. So, love the transitions, but hate the wait time. Of course, you could be obnoxious and use a blow dryer. I'm starting by placing my shadows. I place a reddish-purple mixture in the creases of her forehead and using a glaze consistency, glaze up towards the raised area of skin so it all blends in smoothly. Note that my first layer of paint is a thicker glaze, almost more akin to a layer, and then I use a thinner glaze as I am blending out these transitions. After I have placed my shadows, I go back in with a brighter, more yellow mixture of my base tone and place it right next to my shadow. Placing disparate colors right next to each other will help make them each look more intense. I then darken the temples with a glaze made from the same mixture I used on her cheeks to help tie the face together. For the cheeks, I highlighted the folds in her skin, again placing those lights and darks right next to each other and using that sickly green for the highlights and purple for the shadows. While adding highlights to the cheeks, I lost my cheek color and had to go back in with a more intense mixture of Ishtar Pink, Ardennes Green, and Skeleton Bone. Then I feathered out the edges by quickly dipping my brush in water to remove the majority of my paint, dabbing off the majority of the liquid on a paper towel, and then using a back and forth motion, swiping away the harsh edges of the paint. I'm then going back in with purple and glazing in the shadows under the nose, as well as the cracks and crevices around the mouth. I'm then highlighting the rip of her lips and will later put pink on the lips. I wanted her to appear as if she was wearing the same makeup that the mask was wearing. Then, taking black, I glazed in the shadows and crevices in the hollows of her cheeks. Lastly, I started adding brighter highlights and deeper shadows with inks. I'm diluting them quite a bit as they can go very intense. While I am mixing up my brighter yellow and my deeper purple, I'm also mixing in a lot of brown to keep that sickly desaturated color. Then I work with them like a glaze, layering them one on top of the other if I need to. I took a quick stop to paint the inside of the wounds orange, add a black wash to help give depth to those edges, and add my last few highlights and shadows with glazes. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that this was useful and helpful to you. As a quick side note, I painted the mask to look like a celebrity. Can you guess which one it is? In the coming weeks, I'll be releasing a video all about the fur because that was one of the things that people requested to learn about most frequently when I was posting about this miniature on Instagram. If you like what I do here, you can support me in several ways. The best way is to support me via Patreon. However, liking and subscribing and buying literally anything from the Amazon affiliate links down in my description box would also be wonderful and amazing. Be safe this Halloween. Stay in, watch some horror movies. Maybe The Walking Dead is your style? Go ahead, do some research and look at those undead, vampires, ghosts, goblins, ghouls, and other terrible things. I look forward to seeing you on the next time. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you later.